back to another episode of Sitting Pretty in Chaos, where we heal, inspire, and awaken. My name is Kai, and I'm your host. Now, for this episode, I decided to name it Silence Keeps Korruption. Now, with it having so much going on in the world, and if I'm focusing on how we can inspire and awaken and heal the community, we have to talk about these cases. Okay, if anybody been paying attention to the news, the radio station, it's so even TikTok. There's so much news that's happening on right now, and so many things is going on where it's like it's time for the people to wake up. And I feel like a big issue that's going on in the world is that people think being silent mean that they strong and mighty and that they bigger than God. And the reality is, you're not. Okay? If you being silent, what are you doing? It's like, what are you doing? Okay, that is the wrong time. This today in 2026, nobody should be being worried about being quiet on nobody's creek. Okay? Nobody should be being quiet. It's time for everybody to advocate for other people, speak up and be honest of what's going on. Okay? And so I got something to say because it's just so much going on. I know there's a lot of things that's also going on right now when it comes to like race, and I'm not a type of person that's going to say that I'm going to disregard the fact of all the concerns that we're having when it comes to race. But I also feel like a lot of the issues is probably, and don't find me in the comments about it, but I really do feel like it's less about race, more about the spirit. Okay, and I'm not saying that you need to regard what's happening from other races. What I'm saying is test the spirit of what's going on. Because I'll be the first to let y'all know, yes, there's a lot of people that are of a different culture or race of myself, and they may also claim to also be Christian, but that spirit doesn't say that that's what it's really giving, if you get what I'm trying to say. Right? So I have 3 different cases that I've been like, for whatever reason, I mean, not for whatever reason, because clearly it's a reason, but it's 3 different cases that's like, it's just things that just shouldn't just be happening. And I think that it's time for, I feel like a lot of the government is about to be being exposed for a lot of corruption. Okay, we're talking about the government. We're talking about medical malpractices. I'm talking about people just not really doing their job, okay? And if you even just I always tell people, take away the person and focus on the spirit. A lot of people are allowing the devil to use them, and they think that that's okay. You can't, I'm not saying don't pray, but you can't pray everything away and then you think that God's not going to hold you accountable for your actions. That's not how that works. Everybody will be held accountable for their actions. If not now, later. It may not be on your time, but it's going to be on another time. I've been telling y'all that a lot of people, they think that they can do things to other people, treat people wrong, and they think that, there's not going to have no repercussions. And that's just not true. Right? So, let me give y'all a little bit of insight. The first case that, I'm not going to lie, it bothered me a lot, very deeply into my soul. Like, I had difficulty like sleeping because the way that this case unfolded, it just made me think about like, how would I feel if it was my child, if it was my husband, if it was my sibling, like if it was my cousin, like the things that was going on. So now with the first case, this is a case on Carmelo Anthony. Now my soror tried to tell y'all, we're not going back. But they keep on trying to drag us back. And they must have forgot that we done woke up. If it's worth it, we're going to be marching. When you think about it, I just can't help myself right now. Do you realize when you really think about what was happening in your own bloodline, fighting to vote, fighting to be able to just even be here to buy a house, to get a car, to have just the smallest necessities, your view of it, your perspective of it will change. But anyways, now with Carmelo Anthony, I think he was 17 at the time. He was sentenced to 35 years for the passing of Austin Metcalf, right? Now, at that time, Carmelo, from his point of view, is that he thought that it was self-defense. Right now, I think they're currently actually trying to do an appeal for that case. But basically, it can become a whole argument. Carmelo went to a tent where I think it was at a track meet. And, hey, from the evidence that I saw, it did seem like it was some type of form of like bullying, intimidation, and ultimately it led to the passing of Austin. I'm going to tell y'all what I think was something that had them all that's very similar is that there has been a lot of professional officials that have been corruptive and covering up tracks of a lot of illegal things, and I feel like that God is about to expose. I feel like we're going on a track record of a lot of the officials that's in the government, nurses, doctors, psychiatrists, just people that we're supposed to be able to trust. And I think it's time for them to be being exposed. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the exposer, but I do feel like that God is creating specific situations where they're holding them accountable for their actions for people that think that they can get away with certain things, and it's going to be being exposed. It's clear that is something that's what's been going on, and I've already told y'all that we're in the middle of a shift where a lot of things, what you have been given out is what's starting to come out. So the things that's coming out now is things that it been supposed to come out. It's just not coming out on the time when people been expecting it. And so the whole thing with Carmelo, I think my biggest thing for it was like, if it was somebody that was this color, they, under no circumstances would they have even received 35 years for the stabbing of Austin. My thing is, this is a black man that was arrested for defending himself. And I'm not saying that Carmelo is right. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I honestly feel bad for all parties involved, to be quite honest. However, I also feel like that it's time for a lot of parents to take accountability for their actions. When you realize, the way I look at it is, and I think apparently, allegedly, that the Metcalf family is quote unquote Christians. I don't know where I see the spirit that's giving Christ like, but that ain't really for me to judge. But when I test the spirit, I don't really know. But hey, they have to learn their own lessons in their own timing, and so I'm totally okay with that. I feel like a huge part of it is on the parents' fault. It's time for parents to start taking accountability based off how they're raising their children. Okay? When God bless you with children, your role is to teach them how to survive, certain values, a moral code, and how to show them how to be good citizens in the world. When their values and actions doesn't align with that, I do understand sometimes the kids gonna do what they want to do. Sometimes the kids just gonna do what they want to do. You get what I'm trying to say? Sometimes you can raise your kids one way and they can just, I guess, rebel. Sometimes the kids can rebel against everything that you taught them. And I understand that, but I don't really feel like that's what the situation was with them per se. But I feel like I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen with the appeal. That's my thing when it comes to Carmelo Anthony. I think just the whole thing, the biggest thing is the fact that I just don't think that they really gave him like a fair trial. But my theory is that I just feel like that I think there was more hands that was involved in the case, and I think a lot of them are about to be exposed as well. In due time. Because it's clear that he wasn't received. It's clear that he didn't receive like a clear trial. Um, and I just think they just wanted to hurry up and just close it out because in the state of Texas, it was so many complaints from the actual city, the town, which apparently, allegedly, is pretty racist. So I think the judge, the lawyers, I think there's a lot of people who had their hands in the pot, and I feel like God is about to expose them. I really do. Now, when we get to talking about Nolan Wells, my God. So, Nolan also was a teenager. He went to an island with some of his friends, right? Everybody came back except for him. How does that even happen? How does that even happen? But let me just give y'all a little bit of the details. His body was found 2 days later. His throat was missing, and he had red discoloration in the back of his head. I'm trying to understand, how is it that once they got the body, how is his throat missing? What happened? I'm just trying to understand. And it's been very, very drawn out. There's been a ton of cover-ups, allegedly. Okay? Cameras, GPS locations, lies from multiple of the children. We're talking about, and then this is the thing, we're talking about people who have a duty for the government. So we're talking judges, police officers, medical examinations. We have multiple people when they have a duty. This is a time where you have to check your biases when you get at the door, boo-boo. This is not the one. These ain't one of those. And I think what a lot of people didn't realize that, first of all, black folks been the people that's been allowing y'all to get the light. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. You got a light because of the black folks. Our grandmas, our granddaddies, they put in the time. I'm just saying. So when we talk about the kids have judges, and they're all covering up they behind. But you know what it is? Every time you trying to cover yourself, and when there's so many hands in the pot, at some point, somebody gonna drop the ball. Somebody gonna get scared. Everybody is not as tough as they think they is. I can guarantee you this. And you know the thing with Nolan Wells, it's the fact that it is clear as day that the evidence shows that there are tons of inconsistencies. And I don't think they expected the parents to really try to find out what really happened to their kids. Like, are y'all crazy? What is y'all thought? See, sometimes in my head, I be like, I see what y'all be saying, but I think people be forgetting the fact that, hey, you just never, your ancestors, when it's something, and it's a combination, I feel like, yes, it could be your ancestors, but I also feel like if it's something that God really wants something to be exposed, he's going to do it. in a very unique way. And I feel like with the Anthony case, just like with this case, with the Wells case, I feel like people thought that people was going to just be silent about it and overlook it. We're not overlooking no black boys. And we tired of seeing people lynching people that look like us. Because people don't hang themselves. That don't happen. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. They're not doing that. And if we decide we want to take ourselves out a different way, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be with a rope and a tree. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that that's what anybody should be doing. I do not say do that. That's not what me saying at all, but I'm just saying that that's not, we ain't doing that. That is an act of hatred. That's someone who's fighting demons. Though, when you think about it, the people that's doing that to people, who do you think they're getting that go-to from? The devil. The devil. And then those are some of those are the same people that claim that they got a specific faith. And hey, I'll just say it. White Republican Christians. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just keeping it a buck. I'm a lot of things, but a liar ain't one. And now listen, it's just so many things that it's just like, it's so much happening in the world all at once. And I feel like right now, if you're not paying attention to the trials that's happening, the inflation, the lynching that's happening, the way how certain races are protecting themselves, one, it is time for black people, it's time for y'all to stick together. Stop being worried about who wearing Lululemon, and start getting out there in them streets and marching and standing for something. You can use your voice for when your baby daddy doing this, but you can't go, vote. Or you can't go on a walk to support somebody that lost their life in a way that they should have never even lost their life. Somebody that should still be alive. Everybody have a choice. And it's time for parents to take more accountability and absolutely educate your kids on what's going on in the world. If you have teenagers and they're getting ready to go to college, there's no reason why they don't know what's going on with Nolan Wells. There's no reason they don't know what's going on with Carmelo Anthony. There's no reason. They should know what's going on. Have these uncomfortable conversations. Being afraid to have these uncomfortable conversations, choosing not to have those conversations is a form. You're playing yourself. That's the easiest way to play yourself. We have attack with women just in general. And there's also a huge time where it's time for men to start calling other men out on their bullshit too. Hold them accountable. They cheating. Why are you being friend with them? You a cheater too? They putting their hands on a woman. If you see a man putting their hand on a woman, you need to start holding people accountable. And you need to be accountable. People need to stop thinking that they don't have a duty. You do. You think you don't until God decides to call you home, and then he want to ask you, well, what did you do? How did you respond? Did you turn the cheek? Why? And then ask yourself, did your grandparent do that? Stop being so scared to vocalize when you're being wronged. And that goes to anything. That goes with anything. So, even right now with the Lindsay Clancy case, now y'all, I've been watching it. Now, I said I'm going to go back from the beginning, but from what I'm hearing right now, so let me tell you a little bit. So, Lindsay Clancy, she is a woman. She is white. And the case is that she had allegedly um, took the life of her 3 children. I try to be very clear with the words because, it's too much going on. I don't want to get flagged, but her 3 children, and then she allegedly jumped out of the window. Okay, right now she is paralyzed from the waist down. And so I got some notes because, baby, they on trial right now, and baby, there's a lot of things, a lot of inconsistencies, just like with the other 2 cases, in my opinion. And like I told y'all, I don't really care if it's about, for me, it's not really about black or white. It's really about the spirit. Right is right, wrong is wrong. I'm not saying what anyone's actions was right or wrong, but I'm just bringing some more awareness on the fact that you, as a listener, you should know about these things and get the information and then make your own judgment about it. Okay, I will never tell you what you need to do. Do what you want to do. I'm not God. I'm very clear with that. Okay, but I wouldn't be doing my part if I didn't bring this to your awareness, because everybody not on social media. Everybody's not on TikTok. So I'm gonna use my voice. So let's hop into that a little bit. So the prosecution says that basically that their theory is that she intentionally took the life of her children while her husband was out running errands. Now listen, we're still in the middle of the trial, but I don't know. This husband is giving like the husband was on, the devil payroll. I must say that myself. But, this is allegedly what the prosecution is saying, okay? Now, the defense claims that she was insane. They claim insanity, right? They said that she was severely over-medicated. She's had a history of depression, bipolar disorder, and postpartum psychosis, right? Now, specifically, anxiety, insomnia, and intrusive thoughts. And something I do want to say, I am a woman. I haven't had children. But I do have, almost all of my friends have kids, and majority of my friends have experienced postpartum depression. I have family members have also experienced postpartum depression as well. And so I understand the severity of having a good support system when you're going through those transitions, because there is a lot of chemical imbalances after you're having a child, before you have the child. It's just so many transitions, and that is another reason why I'm really, really big on, like, hey, for me, I ain't trying to have nobody child if I don't feel like that, like, this person's gonna be able to properly advocate for me, okay? Because when you decide to have a child, at the end of the day, you can transition. You can pass away through having a child. So in my head, if I feel like my husband, my partner, cannot properly advocate for me, there's no way that I'm risking my life to have your baby. I'm just not doing it. I cannot do that. Okay? Now, I do want to tell y'all, Lindsay is also filing, she also has civil lawsuits going on right now. She's suing her former doctors and her healthcare facilities. She claims that they have failed to properly diagnose her and excessively over medicating her. Now, I will say I have been watching like the trial a little bit, and I do feel like that from what I'm seeing from these doctors, I'm not gonna lie, I think there was, I can't recall if she was a doctor or nurse, but I believe that she was a nurse. And this young lady, she was so prepared for court. When you are called to court, there's no reason why you don't know what your case from the front to the back, under no circumstances. I don't care if you're a doctor, if you're a police officer, if you're a psychiatrist, if you're a therapist, under no circumstances that you should be on anybody's stand and you didn't study to find out. You should know everything about this, especially when it's a murder trial. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? The fact that it's so many doctors that are ill prepared, who hired you? And just the spirit. That's why listen, I don't got no problem taking nobody to court when they're not doing their job properly. Because people think when you're going to the doctor, when you're going to the hospital, that like, oh, this is something that's minor. Making small mistakes as simple as not properly documenting the notes is a problem. Like, I was in the hospital in I think February, and some of the notes that the doctor said is not what the heck I said. And so even now that I'm looking at the case, that's even more of the importance, because why you can't properly detail your stuff. You've been in school for 17 years and you don't know how to read and write and properly be able to analyze and summarize what my concerns, what my issues in properly, and document it properly from my records. That is insane. That is insane. Y'all, I think, now listen, I can't speak on whether or not if she actually did it. From what I've seen in the trial, allegedly, that she did say that she did. I also understand how the mind works to the level where people can be manipulated and to a certain extent groomed or believe that they have seen certain things. What I'm trying to say is, it is possible that she was coerced to believe that she did commit these crimes. Okay, I'm not saying that she did or that she was, but I'm just saying that it's a possibility. Allegedly. From just this case by itself, it's exposing so much corruption. Like the malpractices of the doctors, the nurses, the amount of medication that they're exposing her to is insane. And what I found so interesting is the fact that they said that when she came to the hospital, that she had double the amount of medication in her system. But I also know that while throughout this time frame, her and her, I guess, doctor was trying to decide what medication works for her, what didn't, because she was low-key like anti-meds, okay? So when I hear that someone is like anti-medication, meaning that they don't want to always feel super like gloomy and weighed down and sluggish per se, or that's how it appeared to me at least, they don't want to take that medication, really. You get what I'm trying to say? Because they don't like the effects of it, right? So in my head, I'm trying to understand if she didn't really like how she felt from the effect of the medication, how is it that it's double? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, I ain't gonna lie, I don't trust that husband. I don't trust that husband. Because this man then got married, had another baby 4 months after the kids, their children, transitioned. And you already married and moved off in 4 months. Something ain't making sense. And I feel like that I've seen so many different things, but I do think that she wasn't supposed to make it. But I feel like that she's about to be made out of an example. If God have a calling on your life, it's gonna happen. Now, I'm not saying that I cannot say what she did was right or wrong. I can't say whether she did it or not. You know? But I do feel like the thing is that a lot of people think that she is just now realizing that, like, wait, did I actually do this? You know? And you know what's kind of crazy? The new wife was similar to her. So it's so important to, regardless, and I'm not gonna lie. Even if you marry, and I'm not saying that, like, I do feel like when you get married, you should be able to trust your husband. They should be able to advocate for you properly. But if you deep down in your heart, and if you still married with somebody and you feel like that, hey, they won't properly advocate for you, you need to get something in writing or find some type of way to protect yourself so that you know, or power of attorney to know what's the next steps when it comes to certain things. Because I do feel like that the husband was privy to certain information as far as like her medication, X, Y, and Z. And I do think that he used that to his benefit. And I do think that if he didn't do it himself, I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I'm not saying this, so hey, allegedly, I don't know. However, I feel like that he know way more than what he said. There's a lot of inconsistencies. I'm not going to go too much into details in regards to that right now, but I just feel like that people need to be more aware of what's going on, all of these changes that's going on right now, especially when it comes to the law. Okay, um, talk to y'all kids. Have these conversations in your home. Okay, have these conversations with your friends. You know, when it was time to vote, everybody was talking. Everybody was chatting up about, you know, what their thoughts was when it came to voting and everything. This needs to still happen for all of the things that's going on. These are major cases that's been going on lately. Okay, we have multiple black boys and girls are being lynched and missing. Then we have women right now on trial and being taken advantage because they have a history of mental health. You just never know what's going on. You just never know what position that you may be in. And that's why it's important for you to do your job. Do your job. Put in all the details and stop half-assing it. Have these conversations with your husband, with your wife, with your children. And regardless of the race. You know, and it's time for people to also learn that you have to check your own biases. Because no shade, no tea, I do feel like the medical professionals that have been shown on the trial for the Clancy case, a lot of the medical professionals, they allowed their own biases to treat her a certain type of way based on the fact of what she allegedly did to her children. So I just ask you to educate yourself, do the research, and get more involved at the news and find out and have these conversations. We can't fix anything if people don't want to speak up. Being quiet doesn't make you tough. That doesn't make you cool. That really make you lame as hell, being quiet. That really make you lame as hell. I'm not gonna lie. Okay? But I just think this is what a lot of people need on their journey, just in general. This is the real world. And we're not going to escape this until people are being held more accountable for their actions. So just remember, being silent keeps corruption. Okay? I hope everyone learned something. I know this is a very different episode, but I'll do what I want to do. Why? Because it's my podcast. And as long as you heal, inspire, and awaken, I'm doing my job. But I love y'all. I appreciate you. And remember, it's okay to heal one episode at a time. Bye.